Welcome to Beyond the Cage, presented by Intimidation Clothing. I am Jim Graham. Joining me today, special guest, he is UFC heavyweight fighter Travis Browne. Travis, thanks for joining me here on Beyond the Cage.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Going back to your last fight, Travis, could you maybe explain to our listeners how exactly did you get injured in that fight?
I threw a front kick, and sometimes I've thrown thousands of times before, and I think I tried to put a little bit too much on it, and it missed, and it just popped my hamstring. And it was pretty much the best case scenario for any kind of a hamstring injury. There's no ligament or tendon damage. It was just a muscle tear, and it took a couple 2-3 months to heal, and now I'm back.
Since that fight was your first loss, even though you did get injured, what were you able to take away from it?
You know, honestly, there's nothing really I could take away from that, because when you get an injury like that, you know, you cannot game plan for that. You cannot train for that. You just, you know, have to go kind of in the moment. And to this day, I feel like, you know, if I wasn't injured, then I would have a, you know, good chance of winning that fight. And you know, going into that fight as the favorite, I don't think that would have changed if I wouldn't have gotten hurt. So it's kind of hard to take anything away from that fight. And I think that's actually been the hardest thing for me, is that, you know, I trained so hard for that fight, and, you know, I got injured, and all I could really do is just accept it, you know. And I think that's where I've grown as a fighter, is just being able to accept that and you know, understand that, you know, life isn't always fair, and that kind of stuff happens, and I think I've matured mentally since then.
Is it weird that just one fight after he fought you, that Bigfoot Silva is now fighting for the title?
No, not at all. I believe that I was on that same track, you know, before that injury or before that loss, and you know, I hope the best for him, and I really hope that he wins the belt, and I hope that he takes it home with him. I don't think you could build a better story than that for him. You know, coming off of a loss to Kane, coming off 2 straight wins against 2 really tough guys, and me and Alistair, and then fighting for the title again. I think that's great for him.
Do you think he has a good chance in his rematch against Cain Velasquez in about a month here?
Yeah, I mean, you can't count him out. Look at, you know, everybody's counted him out since he's been in the UFC, and look at what he's done. You know, he's taken out, you know, me and Alistair, and he wasn't supposed to win both those fights. So, you know, you can't count him out. He's a tough guy, and, you know, he's there to fight.
The UFC seems to be having events all over the place lately. Is there any special place in particular that you would like to fight for the UFC one day?
Yeah, you know, I really love to fight like anywhere overseas, and I like to fight, you know, in front of new fans and new places, and just kind of be like, you know, an ambassador for the sport in that sense, and really just go out and travel and see new places and stuff.
You definitely would want to fight in Hawaii, right?
Oh yeah, big time. That would be my dream right there.
Since you're fighting on the Ultimate Fighter finale, have you been able to watch this season of the show at all?
Yeah, I've watched it quite a bit.
What are your thoughts how the show's gone, and especially that kid Uriah Hall?
Yeah, I think the last fight in the finale, or in the show finale, it kind of humanized him, you know, and it showed that he has a lot to work on. But I think he's definitely above a lot of other guys in his weight class, and where and how much time he's put into the sport. I think he's above that, like ahead of them. And I think that, you know, Kelvin has definitely showed that he has heart, and you can't count the last pick. You can't count him out, and you know, you got to go in there and just prove yourself daily, and that should go, you know, for a lot of new fighters that are coming into the sport. You know, it should really go to show you that your record doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Records don't matter. Momentum doesn't matter. It's one fight at a time, and you go in there and you fight. You know, you're fighting another man. So it really doesn't. You know, all that other stuff goes aside once the cage door closes.
Staying with the TUF theme, Travis, what do you think of, first of all, having women be on the next season, The Ultimate Fighter, and then you add in that 2 females will be coaching Ronda Rousey, and then she'll be taking on the winner of Kat Zingano and Miesha Tate. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know, I think it'll be interesting. It'll definitely add some spice to the show. You know, having a bunch of guys in a house, I think, is would be really tough. And you know, it's funny, I was reading something that I believe Miesha Tate was talking about, and how, like, you know, all these girls are, you know, because women's MMA is so young, and it's, you know, even younger than just MMA in general, and especially in the UFC, all these women are going to be coming in the house to prove themselves, you know, to come in there and take this seriously and you know, put their head down, and they want to get through the house and get to that finale. And I think there's going to be a lot of guys in there that are thinking, hey, I'm going to be one of the first guys to you know, get a chick on The Ultimate Fighter, you know, and I think they're all going to be pretty saddened by their results.
Jim Graham talking with UFC heavyweight Travis Browne here on Beyond the Cage. One of your fellow heavyweight competitors made some interesting statements earlier this week about the transgendered fighter Fallon Fox, and that's Matt Mitrione. And I didn't know if you had a chance to see his comments, and if you did you have any thoughts on what he said about Fallon Fox?
Yeah, you know, when it comes to Fallon Fox, you know, I have my opinion, and I'm going to keep it to myself. But you know, I think that the only people that are making Fallon Fox any kind of, like, reverent or relevant in the sport is the media, and the fact that you know, she's a transgendered fighter. So you know, I would like to see her get some of this notoriety based on her athletic ability and going out there and proving herself in the cage, instead of a lot of people having all their comments and opinions about her. She needs to prove it just like anybody else. And you know, I don't think that, you know, just based on what I've heard and stuff like that, I think that, you know, Fallon has a long way to go in the sport. And, you know, once she gets there, then we can start talking about her. But at this point, I don't think she deserves the notoriety that she's getting.
I haven't had a chance to interview any heavyweight fighters yet, Travis. You're the first one, so I had to ask, do you really even worry about cutting weight, or you just pretty much just walk around and that's what you show up to the weigh-ins at? Yeah,
fortunately, you know, this camp has gone really well, and my weight is a non-issue. Before in camps, I've been, you know, around 260 or something like that, and in the last week, I'm just like, holy moly, I'm fat, so I need to cut, you know, a couple pounds, and that's when I've gotten down to 255, but right now I'm in the 40s, and so I don't have to, you know, work on cutting weight. I just I keep eating clean during the week as much as I can, and I go from there.
Looking at your opponent on Saturday, Gabriel Gonzaga, what will you need to do against him to be successful?
I have to fight my fight and you know, get off first, and you know, just wherever the fight goes, just win the fight wherever it goes, and win the fight every minute of every round. And you know, I'm always looking for the finish, and you know, just keep them guessing and keep them honest.
If you beat Gabriel Gonzaga on Saturday, what will that win do for you?
I think that you know, it shows that I belong in the top 10, and you know, just it gives me a little more momentum, or you know, kind of solidifies my spot, you know, where I need to be and stuff like that. So you know, I think it definitely moves me forward. He's a great fighter and a good name, and yeah, I think it definitely helps my career.
All right, I got one last question for you. On our show, we're doing a Best UFC Trilogy tournament that fans can vote on to decide what they think the best UFC trilogy is. We got down to the last two. We have Frankie Edgar and Gray Maynard's trilogy against Randy and Chuck Liddell's trilogy, and I wanted to get your thoughts what you think the best UFC trilogy is out of those two.
I got to go with Chuck and Randy. I mean, they're the OGs of the sport, and you know they were doing their trilogy before anybody even knew about trilogies. So, you know, I would have to go with Chuck and Randy.
All right. Well, Travis, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Once again, that was UFC heavyweight Travis Browne. You can follow him on Twitter at Travis Browne MMA. I'm Jim Graham for Beyond the Cage, presented by Intimidation Clothing.